So, hello and welcome to another War Thunder video, and no, don't adjust your sets, that is a ME-163, the Messerschmitt 163, or the Komet. The first and only rocket-powered fighter to see operational service. And, well, it's German in-game at least, it's German 8.0. And sits as the entry-level aircraft to Tier 5 in the BF-109 line, just before the ME-262. And, well, yeah, this is a rocket-powered fighter. This is not a jet, this is not a prop. And it is one of the two ever designed rocket fighters that was actually that even a prototype was built, and is one of the two rocket fighters in game. The other rocket fighter being the Ki-200, Japanese Tier 5 at the end of the Ki-84s and the Ki-61 line. And the second rocket-powered fighter in history was actually a Russian design. It was, I think, the BI, or the Witch's Broomstick. So, we'll get on to the whole flight characteristics of this thing after this first match, but, well, this is a top-tier Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-17. And he has basically AFK climbed all the way up here. This is why you don't AFK climb, okay? And I've realized now, okay, this guy's AFK, so I can just do whatever I want with him. So this guy has AFK climbed all the way up to 6,000 meters, only to be shot down by me, basically. That was the first kill I had ever gotten on a MiG-17, by the way. So, thanks for that. And then we have, well, first off, a Hawker Hunter, and then further to the back is a MiG-15. So, Hawker Hunter comes in. I can go head-on with a Hawker Hunter, but I'm not going to. He misses, MiG-15 comes by. Put shots down, and I just roll out of the way. I'm not interested in taking a 37 to the face. That would not feel good. And the Hawker Hunter turns back around, and the MiG-15 breaks out of the engagement and runs off. So, the armament, actually, of the ME-163. Well, I'm dogfighting this Hunter here. Well, I say dogfighting, more like chasing. What is the armament of the 163? Well, it is two MK-108 30mm cannons. Those are the snub-nose 30 mils, the ones that the 262 gets. Whereas the MK-103 30mm is the one that the Horton 229 and the Dornier 335 file have. So that first kill was just demonstrating a complete lack of attention or maybe care from that MiG-17 pilot, and is one of the many reasons why you don't immediately go AFK the second you put your plane into a 15 or 20 degree climb at the start of the match after you get off the runway. So yeah, that was a free 1065 RP and I think about free 7,000 lions or something like that. I do have a talisman on this plane, and I am using premium, so that helps. This second kill, on the other hand, is going to be, I think it's a MiG-15, and this was basically just unlucky. This isn't the shot, though. Poor shooting. Didn't have a good angle on him to begin with, but this guy's just Unlucky. Put the shots in. Rip the stabilizer right off of the back of the aircraft. So, 2 kills in a ME-163 in a top tier match. So, 9.0 game. On 1 load of ammunition and on 1 load of fuel. Can we do better than that? I think we can. And here we are in Korea. Once again, a 9.0 game. And, well, while we're waiting for the action to start up, the ME-163. So I mentioned the fuel load in the last match, and it. Well, this is the drawback to the ME-163. Because it's a rocket plane, it only has 6 minutes of fuel. Or actually 6 minutes and 19 seconds of fuel with a full tank. Which is not a lot. However, if you manage your throttle well enough, you can get that up to around 10 or 12 minutes. If, like I said, if you're good enough on managing your throttle. And, well, I really, really like this aircraft. For starters, it has a very good roll rate. Even at low speed, the roll rate of this thing is fantastic. Acceleration, obviously, because it's a rocket plane, is ridiculously fast. The maneuverability is also, it's a very, very maneuverable aircraft, although optimum maneuvering speed is around 400 to 300 miles an hour. And here's our first couple of targets. A pair of hunters attacking a friendly MiG-15. So I've switched the engine off to give me some extra dive speed, or extra dive time, rather. And actually, this is one of the problems with the 163. It is a very fragile plane. Really, I have managed to pull 12 Gs in this thing, but generally 11 Gs is the maximum that the airframe can take, and it can't take that for more than about 5 seconds. And you really don't want to stress the plane all that much. And 550-ish miles an hour is when you're starting to kind of get into that threshold of, okay, the plane is about to disintegrate. So yeah. Take shots, kill a hunter. And then Hawker Hunter, head on, and yep, I got him. He got me, and I was actually thrown into a spin because of that, but shot down a pair of Hawker Hunters in an 8.0 aircraft. I think that's a good result for one match. And we did win this match, by the way. Next. Alright, so here's the third match of today. I actually have 4 total lined up, so this is the third one, so the next one will be the very last. So, anyway. How do you really fly the 163? Most of you are probably asking. And, well, it's a very difficult plane to fly, and the reason is because of the fuel load, as well as the relatively low wing braking point of the 163. So, and actually combined with the high acceleration and the high climb rate. So basically what you want to do is, generally what I'll do is I'll lower my throttle immediately after I spawn to about 80% and go into about a 15 or a 20 degree climb, get up to about 3,000 or 5,000 meters, and then when I get up to that altitude, I level off and pull the throttle right back to either 50 or 40%. And the reason for that is because I'm trying to conserve fuel. So, bring the plane up to altitude, level off, pull the throttle back, and just basically give myself, because around about 23% throttle is enough to keep the plane going without going into a glide. So about 23%, if you put it at about 23% throttle, it will propel itself forward. But you don't want to be going that low on the throttle because, you know, what happens if you need to immediately speed up again? And the acceleration of the thing is good, but it's not that good. So, yeah. Also, you're always going to have an altitude advantage at the start of the match because, well, even against Hawker Hunters and MiG-17s, they're going to climb a lot slower than you are, even when you're stock. And actually, that first match that you saw against those Hawker Hunters, or the second match that you saw, that was with a completely stock Me-163. And actually, the fourth match that you're about to see, the one right after this one, was also in a stock 163. So I've switched the engine off right now, not really trying to conserve fuel, but rather trying to basically glide and lose a little bit of speed just to wait and see what that F-84 does. And I actually don't know it right now, but me and this friendly 163 are actually way ahead of the rest of the team. And I don't know it until I actually turn back around. And that 163 is in a whole lot of trouble. Look at that, he's got 3 jets on his ass. Now he can outrun them, but he won't be able to he can outrun them, but he won't be able to outrun them forever. Okay, so we got a P-80, a Vampire, an Attacker, and an F-84 over here. So yeah, we'll leave that 163 to his own devices. So, probably one of the most noticeable features about the 163 is, well, look at how tiny it is. The wingspan is about the length from tip to tail of the HE-162, and the fuselage length is about the wingspan of the 162. So, very tiny aircraft. So let's see, F-84, Vampire, P-80, P-80. Oh, and by the way, yes, this is an 8.0 game. So, top tier. And I love shooting at P-80s. These things are so easy to kill. P-80s and F-84s, free kills. And I don't know what the hell happened with this P-80, but I got a critical there on his tail, and then he immediately puts the thing into the ground and doesn't pull out. I don't know what happened there, but okay, kill one. Put the thing into the air, bleed some speed off. Got an F-84 and a Vampire on the friendly 163. F-84 kills the F-84. F-84G kills the F-84B. And then the F-84 and I both line up on this Vampire. And, well, the Vampire just exploded. Now I have a Meteor that's chasing after that friendly F-84, so I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I have the ammunition actually to get into another engagement with that Meteor, but unfortunately I don't have the fuel. I only have about a minute and a half of fuel left. Even with conserving all of my fuel. So, take it back to base. Throttle down to bleed some speed off. And here is one of the other interesting things about the ME-163 that if you've been playing War Thunder long enough, you'll probably already be able to tell. This thing actually doesn't have any landing gear. See that thing right at the bottom of the front of the plane? Yep, that's a landing skid. That's how you land this thing. You literally drag the thing on the ground. So coming in, I'm going to bleed a little bit of speed off, and I actually have a little bit of ammunition left in the gun, so I'm going to use them to help break the plane. Because this thing doesn't, since it doesn't have any landing gear, it doesn't have any brakes. Come in nice and slow, drop the skid, drop the flaps. And it does have flaps, which is nice. And there we go, there's the last of the ammunition in the guns. And the landing skid isn't actually all that great. It doesn't really bleed off a lot of speed. And let the wing rest on the ground, spin out, and ooh, I broke the skid. Oh well. And of course this thing gets an air spawn because, well, it can't take off, so. Actually, historically, the way that 163s would take off is that they actually had a landing dolly attached to the skid. And when they would lift off the ground, they would eject the, they would jettison the landing dolly and then pull into a steep climb angle and just rocket away from the ground. And then they would come back and land basically how you just saw. They would skid on the ground, basically coming in like a glider. So, most of the enemy team at this point has been shot down. All that's left is this Meteor and I think a P-80 and an F-84. So there's a G91 and the F-84G on this Meteor, and I'm going to try and get over here, but I think the F-84 gets him before I can. Yep, here he goes. So put the thing into a climb. Just kind of wondering where the other guys are, and then the P-80 starts shooting up ground targets. I'll turn around because of flak, and then also I think that somebody started shooting up ground targets, I think. And yes, this may be really boring to watch, but that's kind of the way you fly a 163. You just kind of hover around waiting for targets. I'll show off the maneuverability in the next match, trust me. Either that or I'll record one live. Alright, come on, get to the action. I know I get one more kill in this match, I just can't remember where or when. Oh, and yep, there's the P-80. And this F-84G pilot was a total idiot. He's got an F-84 and a P-80 coming at him, and he's still strafing ground targets. The only thing that actually saves this friendly F-84 is that the fact that I was here. And also the fact that the P-80 and the F-84 on the enemy team were just such horrible shots. Not enough lead. Pull it around. There's the maneuverability here for you. Already snapped the thing around again. Easily keeping pace with the P-80 and shoot the tail off of the aircraft. And that was the end of the match. I did get to line up on the F-84, but unfortunately shot poorly, and he went head-on with another F-84 and got himself blown away. So yeah, that was the end of that match. And well, I don't think that P-80 is going to be too happy after that. So, next match. And here we are with the fourth and final match. So, well, obviously there are many drawbacks to the 163. First off, almost, 6 minutes of fuel. Second off, it only has two 103s, or two 108s, two MK 108s, and they only have 60 shots per gun, so low ammunition load. Landing, if you're not experienced, can be an issue. And also, another big problem is the rocket engine itself. Because the thing about this plane is that because it's so small and so light, it's actually very fragile. And that's not to say that it gets shot down very easily. And in fact, if you're flying a 163 correctly, you're not getting shot at all. Or at the very least, you're only getting shot at in head-ons. Because that's the only way that people will be able to open fire on you, unless, you get stranded halfway across the edge of the map, halfway on the other end of the map, and you can't glide back home. But you never should put yourself into that situation to begin with. So, one of the main problems with the 163 is that if you exceed 540, 550 miles an hour, you're running the risk of actually breaking the plane. Not in level flight, but in maneuvers. Not only that, but the elevator actually compresses quite heavily above 500 miles an hour, and specifically above 530. And the elevator, by the way, you might be wondering where that is. That is actually right beside the ailerons. It looks like those are flaps, but no, those are actually the elevators. If you paid attention in that last match when I was landing, the flaps are actually on the bottom of the wing. Now, optimum maneuvering speed for the Me-163 is between about 350 and 450 miles an hour. Or 350 to 400 miles an hour, to be specific. In that range, this thing is about as maneuverable as a biplane, and that's unrealistic. Even when stock. So this thing is a very, very maneuverable aircraft, and its maneuverability is somewhat similar to that of a Horton 229. However, it doesn't have to worry about ripping its wings the way that a Horton 229 does. Because of the fact that this thing is a lot smaller than the Horton, and also the fact that, well, it can go up to 500 miles an hour and still maneuver. It won't want to maneuver, but it can at 500. It is much easier to dogfight in an Me-163 than it is in a Horton 229. However, you still don't want to dogfight props. You can dogfight other jets, but not props. So F-84 going after the Arado. Most of the F-84 pilots I actually encountered were complete idiots. Shoot poorly. F-84 dives. He's not going to outrun a Komet. There's no way in hell. A Banshee over there. getting a little bit too heavy on the acceleration there, so point the nose back up in the air. F80 shooting star comes through, makes a boom and misses with all of his shots. Put the thing back into a loop. Banshee is making a boom through, although he's only running away from the guy on his ass. I think it's a Horton. And here comes a vampire. Go head on with a vampire. He jinks out of the way. I keep going. I don't really care about vampires. I want to kill these F-84s. So, first F-84. Get hit on his tail section. Nothing really critical. And I'm out of fuel and ammunition. Or at least, I'm low on fuel and low on ammunition. Actually, or maybe do I have F80? So apparently I do have enough fuel and ammo for at least one more engagement. F80 booms through, P80. P80s, F84s, and F80s. So shooting stars and thunderjets, I really love shooting these down. Because they're just so fragile, it's so easy to kill them. And just totally fuck that P80's wing and tail, and then he blows up. Get one good burst into him, destroy his wing, he goes inverted. Get another good burst into him, and he just explodes. And I think one of the F-84s actually crashed. The P-80... Oh, yeah, one of the F-84s crashed. So that was my second kill. Apparently that tail damage was critical. Enough to that he slammed the thing into the ground. And so this is actually the auxiliary runway on Bulge. This is actually the forward runway. As you can see here, there's the runway I'm on, there's the main one. And there's the flaps right underneath the aircraft. There we go. Fire off the last of the ammunition. And just kind of skid to a halt. I kind of wish there was a different way that you could put this thing down, but there really isn't. Oh, and by the way, I have tried to land this thing on a carrier before because I was unfortunate enough to get Norway once. Let's just say it didn't work. So if you get Norway, you better shoot down the AI. And actually, that is what I did. I actually ended up getting 5 kills on one load of ammunition. 3 of them were AI, and the other 2 was, I think, an F-84 and a G-91. And then ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. Unfortunately, we lost that match, which kind of pissed me off, because I really wanted to see what I would have gotten out of that with a win. So, there really isn't much left on the enemy team. Generally, whenever I've been top tier in this thing, the U.S. team just gets pulled apart. The F-84s, the Vampires, the F-80s, the Meteors, they wither away to the 262s, the Hortons, and the 163s. So, I think there's only about 3 or 4 guys left on the enemy team. Oh, nope, there's only 1 guy left. And I believe it's an F-84 Thunderjet. And yep, there he is. Friendly 262 has gotten the Thunderjet on his ass. So, I'm going to go and give this Thunderjet some help. Unfortunately, I believe I'm the only one over here to help this guy. Everyone else is RTB'd. 262 puts a burst into the F-84, doesn't seem to do anything. F-84 stalls, puts the nose down. Shoot poorly. Didn't pull quite enough lead. Pull back on the engine. Ignite the engine again. Take the shot. And he explodes. Oh, now was that a beautiful kill or what? That Thunderjet just exploded. That's pretty much everything. That's pretty much what's happened every single time that I've shot at an American plane. Every American jet at 8.0 or lower, if I shoot at them, they explode. And vampires as well. I've shot down like 5 or 6 vampires in this thing. Every single time they explode when you hit them. It is so much fun to kill American jets and vampires in this thing. So yeah, having a lot of fun in the 163, and I actually haven't spaded it yet. I still need to get the engine and the cannon upgrade. And actually, you might be wondering how you die in this thing. Most of my deaths in this plane were from actually ripping my wings off. I think about 75% of my deaths are from ripping my wings. The other 25% were from having critical damage done to the aircraft, whether by ramming or from enemy fire, and basically just the plane being uncontrollable and it going into the ground. Also, another little problem with the ME-163, if it loses its wingtips, like if the wingtip falls off and you go into a knife edge, good luck pulling out. You can do it, but it's very hard. So yeah. I found my new favorite plane. Well, not my new favorite plane, but definitely a plane that I've really enjoyed flying. And I'm gonna go and end this video and then go spade it. So I'll see you guys later.